Now, I've said this to you like 5 times, trying to grasp at what I mean by these words. So I don't mean to bore you, but for those at home, you know, as you've been sharing these ideas with me, and I've been kind of hanging on by my fingernails, barely understanding, but wanting to, and also knowing that other people I respect, like Trent Horn and others, would take issue with several things, I'm sure, that you would say about certain things, right? Yeah. And so just not knowing, like, well, I don't really understand all that Jacob's saying, and I don't really understand the objections because this is just not an area I think about a great deal. But the more I think about it, I can't help but think this is worthy of our reflection, precisely because of how often our blessed Lord does speak about the money, the rich, and the rich entering heaven, and the love of money being the root of all evil in James and things like that. And not that we need to have a word count to decide how important a doctrine is, but when it comes to our sexual life, we have all sorts of rules and regulations in the Christian faith that many of us try diligently to stick to. And we look weird compared to the world in some sense, driving around here in our minivans, not contracepting. There's a very noticeable difference between, say, a faithful Christian who's open to life and is sacrificing many things, is staying home, maybe even homeschooling their children. Yeah. That looks very different, right? So our sexual lives look very different to those in the world. And what is beginning to bother me more and more as I try to understand these things that you talk about is I don't put any really thought into my money. And whenever I ask Christians, well, how should we use money? Like, shouldn't we look different to the world? How should we look different? Just like what you're saying, it doesn't look that different. And someone will say, well, but you tithe and you give of your money, but atheists do that. And sometimes they're much more generous than we are in giving to the causes that they believe benefit humanity. So it bothers me that me and my fellow Christians there doesn't seem to be a lot of sort of guidelines and black and white answers to these things. And it sounds like you're saying, well, they actually might be blacker and whiter than I've previously believed. There are these magisterial teachings that direct us, but perhaps we're just not talking about it. So, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I don't even understand it to disagree with it. But
that's too bad.
Well, and I'm getting there slowly. And it's not because you explained it poorly. It's because I'm not grasping it.
I'm sure that's not true. Yeah.
But I think, like, wherever anybody is right now listening to this, whether they object or not, I just want to ask the question, like, shouldn't how we use our money look radically different, or shouldn't it? And if the answer is no, that's surprising, given how much our blessed Lord spoke about money and the dangers of riches and things like that. So, yeah, it's like we're very willing to be radical in some sense when it comes to our sexual lives, but when it comes to our financial lives, maybe it's just me, and I shouldn't be accusing everybody of not living that differently, but it doesn't seem like we're talking a great deal about it or encouraging people to live radical lives in regards to their finances.
Yeah, I think it's tough. The fight against pornography is difficult. I think made more difficult because, well, I want to speak carefully on this one, but people rarely knew why what they were doing was wrong. They might have had an inclination towards it, and the church, seeing the abuses that came from it, that it was not just kind of affecting one person, but multiple people. Not only like the women being abused, but like the wife who was to come. These things were starting to be articulated well, and then help was duly given. I think the tough thing with money is not that it's, help is not being there, as you said it, and that it's just not talked about all that much, but it's hard to see that there's more than one person being hurt.
Yeah, because it's an intermediary.
Exactly.
Money is that thing of exchange, so there's a barrier between me and the effect, the cause and the effect.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's extremely, insightful. It's also, I mean, this is now a completely different topic, but it's strange that animals can use money, like parrots can use money, dogs have been taught how they like use money, like the idea of having a medium of exchange, that it actually does in separating cause and effect. It's actually like allowed for some form of habituated, irrational, behaviors to develop. Right. And I'm not condemning money on these grounds at all. That's not a condemnation. But I think that it's insightful to suggest that there's more that's happening in that mediation than we might realize, and something else that's going on. I think you're right.
Cool, man. Well, I'm glad you're bringing some light to it, if even just so that we can begin to be more reflective about these things,
Thanks, man.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought about the video.